go through some of the different autoimmune diseases that are out there. So rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, some of the arthritic conditions that we see quite a bit, as well as things like lupus. That's a pretty common one that we see in our office. We see things like MS. We see things like irritable bowel disorders like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. Hashimoto's is a big one that Dr. Rebecca sees all the time. And again, guys, when it comes to autoimmune conditions, this is basically a condition where the immune system gets stuck in the second part of itself. So Th2 part of the immune system, that is the memory part of the immune system, and it attacks its tissue. Now, right off the bat, I want to address something. With autoimmune conditions, I want you to understand that does not mean that your body is dumb. It does not mean that your body made a mistake. It does not mean that there was an accident in the way that your immune system functions. What it means is that there's an underlying root cause and your body has adapted to that cause, or it's responding appropriately to that cause. So we have to figure out what is the cause. This is why so many people in our society get diagnosed with an autoimmune condition and they never get well. They never see their symptoms improve, except for maybe, occasionally with a drug. But then most autoimmune drugs that you see out there suppress the immune system, which means what? Now it puts you more at risk of things like cancer. Now it puts you more at risk of some of those, more dangerous chronic diseases that can kill you and that are one of the, leading cause of deaths worldwide. So we don't want to ignore the issue or put a Band-Aid on it with a medication. There are ways that you can improve autoimmune symptoms, and we're going to go through that throughout the show. So if you're dealing with an autoimmune condition, if you're listening on Facebook or if you're listening live on our radio show, again, and you have specific questions about you, feel free to ask those questions, whether on Facebook or call into the radio show. And we can be able to kind of dive into that and answer some specific questions about autoimmune conditions. But just to kind of give you guys some hope, I'll give you guys some specific, patients that we have worked with in the past and clients that we have worked with in the past. I have one that was actually one of our employees, one of our past employees, an amazing person. And so when Chelsea started with us, she had been diagnosed with a couple different autoimmune conditions, including Crohn's disease as well as lupus. They had taken out some of her bowels. She was on, if you got to see the amount of medications that she was on, it would break your heart and absolutely make you want to cry. They told her that the next time there was a major flare-up, that what they were going to have to do is basically take out the rest of the colon, and she was going to end up, with a colostomy bag and end up with some major issues like that. And so, I remember when Dr. Rebecca first sat down with her, and it was actually in her interview. This is how, passionate Dr. Rebecca and I are about changing people's health, is that even in the interview, Dr. Rebecca's like, we can help you that. We can help you with that. We can make sure that we can get down the root cause and we can help you with that. And I think she was a little ticked off when Dr. Rebecca told her that, because she had been to, places like Vanderbilt. She had been to places like Mayo Clinic. She had been to all of these different areas. And they had basically told her there's nothing you can do about it, that your body is just, has a hyperactive immune system, and that's just the way it is. And it's, it's nothing that you can help. And so as we started, working with her, she decided to take the job, probably even though that she was a little ticked off. I think probably part of it was curiosity. If somebody told her, hey, we can help you with this autoimmune condition. And so she started changing her lifestyle, changing the way she ate. We got her immediately off of gluten, immediately off of cow's milk dairy, and we started moving her in that direction as far as her diet goes, eating a clean diet, highly anti-inflammatory. We started doing things like getting her adjusted, which is a major part to regulating the immune system. And then we started doing some things to retrain the immune system and also heal the major part of autoimmune conditions, which is the gut. And so as we did this over the course of the next year, she was able to get off of all of her medications, which again, she was taking well over 30 pills a day, get off all of her medications. She was able to see no symptoms of her autoimmune condition. And what's even better is now she's married. She has a beautiful, wonderful, amazing, healthy baby that I think there was a time where she thought that could never happen, and now it has. And it's not because Dr. Rebecca and I, do anything magical. It's not because we do rocket science in our office. It's because we get down to the root cause. There are specific causes to your autoimmune condition. So maybe you're somebody that suffers with Hashimoto's, and you don't realize that, hey, guess what? You've had something like blastocystis homini. You've had a parasite, a frank pathogen for the past, 10, 15 years that is wreaking havoc on your immune system. And you don't even know that because your medical doctor didn't even know that was a possibility of causing your Hashimoto's. Maybe you're somebody with rheumatoid arthritis and you had no clue that you had some autoimmune type triggering bacteria in the gut like Pseudomonas or Klebsiella that is overgrown and creating major damage there. Maybe you're somebody with psoriatic arthritis that had no idea that you had, overgrowth of Morganella, or you had overgrowth of some of the histamine causing bacteria in the gut, or maybe you're somebody that has major damage to the mucosal membrane of the gut. You had no idea, so you've been taking these expensive medications. And when I say expensive medications, holy moly, all of you that are listening that have an autoimmune condition, especially those with the more arthritic autoimmune conditions, I mean, those medications are some of the most expensive medications on the planet. I've had patients that have came in, especially with things like rheumatoid arthritis. I've had patients that were spending anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 out of pocket with fantastic insurance a month trying to find solutions for these issues. So this is a very, very important topic, and I think we can really get down to some of the things that you can start doing even today at home, and what are some of the things that we can start looking for as far as what's creating and causing your autoimmune condition. So I have to go on break, our first break of the show today. If you have any questions, again, join us live on Facebook. I will be continuing to talk throughout the break. It's a way that we can dive a little bit deeper. So go to Doctors Warren on Facebook, like and follow our page. Also share this content. Again, if you're already on our Facebook, share it so that it can reach people that have no idea that, hey, there's something you can do about your autoimmune condition. Again, they won't know unless we share, unless we tell them. So again, I encourage you to share that information if it's something that strikes you as important. The other thing is, guys, if you want to come in and see us, as I mentioned earlier on the radio show, there's a couple ways you can do it. If you go to DoctorsWarren.com, that's DRSWARREN.com, DoctorsWarren.com, there's a banner at the top of the homepage that you can actually sign up for an initial free call with our clinic director. And she can help place you where you should be, whether it's with functional wellness, whether it's with chiropractic, whether it's with both, however you're looking to get well and to stay well. She can help place you so that way we can make sure to take care of you the best that we possibly can. And you can schedule that yourself. So as you go on our website, DoctorsWarren.com, it'll give you times where you can pick based on your availability to make it very, very easy for you. And our clinic director will get on a call with you and she will be able to place you right where you need to be placed so that way we can be able to schedule an appointment, get down to the root cause, and not waste any time and not waste any finances. Make sure that we're actually addressing your health the way that you want it specifically, and also deciding whether you should see Dr. Rebecca or myself in our clinic. We do work with many different people, and so again, there's certain cases that we know that we are that is more of our niche that we're better at, so she'll help to place you in the right direction. So DoctorsWarren.com, DRSWARREN.com, click on the banner at the top and you can sign up for and schedule your actual free call, initial call with our clinic director so that she can set you up with an appointment and make sure that we get it going in the right direction there. So DoctorsWarren.com. So again, we're going on our first break of the show. If you have any questions, make sure to ask them on Facebook, or you can call into the radio show and ask them there. This is Wellness Radio with Doctors Warren, and I will be back in just a minute. All right, good morning, guys, on Facebook. I hope you guys are doing fantastic today. We're going to be talking all about autoimmune conditions. If you're just now joining us, welcome. We're going to be talking about how to get down to the root cause of autoimmune conditions. Can you improve symptoms? And can you see autoimmune conditions reversed? Now, I know that's going to be that's a little bit more of a controversial topic, because again, in the medical system, they'll tell you no. Even if you've seen, symptoms that have been in quote unquote remission for a year, 2 years, 3 years, they'll say, no, you can't get rid of an autoimmune condition. And here's my thoughts on it. Number one, it's just a label. It's a label. All diseases are labels, right, of dysfunction in the body. So that being said, if you help to figure out what is creating this dysfunction, you remove that interference that's creating that dysfunction, and the body gets well. To me, that's called reversal. You can take that flipping label off. I hate labels. People attach themselves to labels. Let me talk about this for just a second. There is so many people that put their identity in their label. They put their identity in fibromyalgia. They put their identity in MS. They put their identity in rheumatoid arthritis, their identity in all of these different issues, and that drives me nuts. Listen, you may have rheumatoid arthritis, but you are not rheumatoid arthritis. That is not who you are. That is a dysfunction in the body. And once you realize that, you can change your life forever. If you continue to put your identity in your autoimmune condition, you will never get well. Let me make that very, very clear. You will never get well if your identity is in your diagnosis. There are some people that flippin' live to go to the doctor. They live to make a doctor's visit. They live to find out what else can we cut out, what other type of medication can we take, rather than saying, hey, you know what? No, actually, I'm created amazing. My body is designed, to heal and function well. Something is affecting that, and it's not allowing my body to function the way it's supposed to. So don't put your identity in your diagnosis. Don't get stuck to a label, because again, you are not your autoimmune condition. Now, let's dive into some of the most common causes of autoimmune conditions. Number one, I don't care what autoimmune condition it is, the first place that I always start is in the gut. You have to start in the gut if it's any autoimmune condition. So we're about to go live again, so hang on one second. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. We're talking all things autoimmune today. So we're answering some questions about what causes the autoimmune. Can you improve your symptoms? And can autoimmune be reversed? Can autoimmune diseases be reversed? I just went off a little bit on our Facebook about how don't get attached to a label, don't get attached to a diagnosis. Your identity is not in your diagnosis. You just have dysfunction, and there's something in your either outside environment or internal environment that's creating that issue, causing the immune system to attack certain tissue. Maybe it's attacking the skin, maybe it's attacking the joints, maybe it's attacking the gut, maybe it's attacking the gut lining, maybe it's attacking your thyroid. Again, in certain cases, maybe it's attacking the brain, and going through the lymphatic system there. So we want to make sure that we're getting down to root cause. So first thing we have to do is we actually have to address the gut. That's number one. That is absolutely number one with any autoimmune condition, is you have to address the gut. You guys have heard me harp on this before. I like to be specific when I'm addressing the gut. So that means I like to be able to see the environment of what I'm dealing with. I like to be able to see that. Let me give you a perfect example. So I have a patient, Sean. He's been in our office now for about 6, 7, actually it's been longer than that because it was through COVID. He was actually a part of my men's group, which we will be launching a new men's group pretty soon. So if you want more information about that, again, you can go to doctorswarren.com. You can schedule an initial call with Mary Beth, and she can let you know when our next men's group is that I'm launching. But Sean was a part of my first men's group that we did. And as we were going through that initial phase of care and kind of talking about, changing up the nutrition, changing up the diet, he's somebody who's dealt with psoriatic arthritis for years. So we're talking 20 plus years. Actually, his wife, who's a patient in our office as well, said that she's never known him without, different skin issues on the elbows and certain places of the body. And so recently, so he'd made major changes in learning how to implement certain types of fasting techniques, changing up his diet, really eating more of an anti-inflammatory diet, leaning more towards a paleo keto style diet, and seeing some amazing changes, dropping weight, feeling better, energy levels up. But the skin condition and some of the arthritic conditions were still there. And so I challenged him. I said, okay, we've got to get a little bit deeper into what's going on with you. Let's do a stool test. So we did a stool test, which is a PCR. It's actually a DNA stool test where we're able to see the environment of the gut. And we found out he had a lot of histamine-producing overgrowth of bacteria. So there's certain bacteria that create a histamine reaction in the body. Histamine reaction can show up on the skin as redness, as cracking, as damaged skin. And also, too, he had major damage to he had low secretory IgA, which means that his immune function was way down. Why? Because his immune function was focused on one thing, and that was attacking the skin. And he also had an overgrowth of staph and strep, which again, when you look at those and you have an overgrowth in the gut, that will create issues on the skin as well. So it's now been about 3 weeks since he's been on a specific protocol to heal the gut. And his wife said it's the best his skin has ever looked since she's known him, on his elbows, and seeing some major improvements there. And again, it's only been 3 weeks into the actual protocol that we're doing with him, because now we're getting down to the root cause. We're going to be able to see his psoriatic arthritis, whether you want to use medical terms and say go into remission, or you want to say, well, actually now we've worked on the immune system, got down to root cause, he's now reversed his autoimmune condition. And again, that's where I believe, again, if you figure out what's causing dysfunction, you address that dysfunction and the problem goes away. Again, you can say whatever you want, but I call that reversal. And it's not because we treat disease in our office. Again, it's because we get down to root cause and then we support the body's ability to heal. It's that simple. And you can do it again with autoimmune conditions. So we've got to start with the gut. That's number one. What are some of the biggest hits that can create autoimmune conditions? Let's talk about one that, again, is controversial. I don't care. I'm going to talk about it because this is one of the biggest causes of autoimmune conditions today, and that is when we look at, again, our childhood immunization schedule and what happens early on in a child's life. Here's what happens when you artificially stimulate the immune system. Specifically, when you look at childhood immunizations, they are designed to skip the cell-mediated part of the immune system. They want to deal with less and less of the cell-mediated reaction, which is, just to give you guys a clue of what the Th1 or cell-mediated part of the immune system does, that's like the snotting it out, the coughing it out, the fevers. Those are the things that, again, people find uncomfortable or they find inconvenient. They'll say dangerous, but again, as most, even Journal of Pediatrics has pointed out, a fever from a virus or bacteria is not dangerous. Let me repeat, a fever from bacteria or virus is not dangerous, despite some of the crazy, scary lies you've heard in the past. Oh, it's going to create brain damage. Oh my gosh, they're not going to be able to reproduce later on. Like, dude, are you kidding me? Maybe a fever caused from a toxicant, so some type of toxin, that can take the body into a fever-like state that may go beyond what you can handle. But you have a temperature regulating system inside your body called the hypothalamus. Or maybe you're somebody that has damage to the hypothalamus, then maybe a fever can go past that point. So again, if you have a properly functioning hypothalamus that is your temperature regulator, again, a fever is actually a fantastic thing. We talked about it on our show before, that a guy who was knighted for his work looking at childhood leukemia, and in England, this is a guy who's worked with childhood cancer for the past 35, 40 years, and he's really considered the #1 leading expert in the world on childhood leukemia. He talks about how the #1 thing that gives the chance for childhood cancer or leukemia is he talks about how it's a child. If a child does not get sick or does not prime the immune system within the first year of life, it can lead to childhood cancer later on. That's why when you look at leukemia and you look at childhood cancer, really it's a developed countries issue. When you look at third world countries, you're not really seeing childhood cancer, you're not really seeing leukemia at all. It's more in developed countries. Why? Because again, we've really gotten away from allowing our children to prime the immune system. So that's really where most autoimmune conditions start. And if you don't believe me, let's just look at how autoimmune conditions have gone. Have autoimmune conditions gotten better or worse over the last 20 years? Actually, if you are over the age of 40, if you go back and you think about the children that you saw in your classroom that were around you, how many kids and even adults did you see or know with autoimmune conditions? I bet it was maybe one, but probably none. And again, maybe some of you say, no, I knew two. Okay, you knew two. Now when we're looking at autoimmune conditions, guys, over the past 10 years alone in kids, this is kids under the age of 15, we've seen a 54% rise in autoimmune condition. Now, anywhere else in nature, in different ecosystems, a biologist is going to say, if that happened to an animal, a biologist is going to say, what happened to the environment around that animal or around that species that is creating this issue? What happened in the environment? What is triggering this? Is there toxins in the water? Is there toxins upstream in the water? Is there issues with, some of the food supply or some of the other, species dying? What is going on in the environment? But in human beings, we just say, oh, it's genetic. It's genetic. We see, it's nothing that we can help. It's nothing that you can help. It's completely accidental. No, that's BS. So again, the first part that puts the body into and gets stuck in the Th2 or the memory part of the immune system, the humoral part of the immune system, is looking at childhood immunizations. Now, whether you agree with them, whether you don't, I honestly don't care. That's your decision. That's your family's decision. But when you look at them, we do know this, and it was published in the Journal of Pediatrics about a year and a half ago, questioning and saying, why is the United States, why do they have such a rigorous childhood immunization schedule when other countries don't, and their infant mortality is 10 times better than ours is. Their childhood, rates of disease are 10 times better than ours are. So they're questioning why so many so quickly. And that is a question that I ask, and that's why we got to call for better science that is just frankly not going on. So I've got to take another break. We're going to continue to dive into autoimmune conditions. If you want our help or if you have questions, again, join us live on Facebook, Doctors Warren, where my lights just went out because they're on a timer, so if it just got dark, that's why. I got to move in just a second. But also too, if you want more information, go to doctorswarren.com. You can actually schedule an initial call with our clinic director so that she can schedule an appointment for you and not waste any of your time, any of your finances, but be able to place you where you want to be. Maybe it's with functional wellness, maybe it's with chiropractic, maybe it's with both. But again, that is something that she can do. If you go on our website, schedule that. The top link there, it's a little bar on the homepage of doctorswarren.com. This is Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I'll be right back after the break. Let me get the light here, guys. 1 second. There we go. Got dark on me for a second. I hate those stinking timers. They seem to go off like every single time I'm on a Facebook Live. So I'm sorry about that. All right. Autoimmune conditions, we've talked about, we kind of got through the controversial part. If you don't like it, I don't care. It's something that I see, happen all the time clinically. If your doctor says it doesn't happen, that's because they're misinformed or they're choosing not to see it because frankly, it's pretty stinking clear. I hear the same story over and over and over again from parents, from adults, and again, it's like a broken record and it breaks my heart, but I have to say, I've developed almost like a callus, a callus to it. I've developed really a hard shell to it because you hear it over and over and over again. And really, it has to be discussed. And if you really want to, find out more about that connection, I challenge you to read a book by Dr. Thomas Cowan, who talks about autoimmunity, right? It's a book he wrote, I think about 2 years ago. One of the best books that I've ever read when it comes to looking at autoimmune conditions, and kind of breaks it down really, really well for individuals. So I would definitely say that Dr. Thomas Cowan, he's one of my mentors, absolutely fantastic guy. That's spelled Cowan. I wish I could give it to every single parent, on the planet. I think it's that good. Now, so that's one thing that can create a hyperactive immune system. Number two, seeing somebody that has been taking antibiotics over and over and over again throughout childhood. Let me give you an example. Ear infections. This is one of the most common areas that I see an overabundance and consumption of antibiotics that are absolutely unnecessary. So again, let me make this clear. When we look at, studies that were reviewed, again, published in the Journal of Pediatrics, and we look at ear infections and the involvement of antibiotics, what is concluded after looking at studies over the course of years is what they said is there is basically no decrease in days with ear infection and basically no improvement in ear infections when given antibiotics. And actually, they concluded that there is a greater chance of continuous and a reoccurring ear infection again, when given antibiotics for an ear infection. But again, I see that all the time. So I have patients that are in their 40s or their 50s, and I ask them, have you been on antibiotics? And their answer is always, well, I haven't been on them in a while, because they've heard recently that maybe antibiotics are not the greatest solution when it comes to some of the more minor bacterial infections, and especially in the case of viral infections. But they say, but in my childhood, I had antibiotics over and over again. I had tubes put in my ears, or I had chronic, throat infections. These are signs that gut issues were going on from the very beginning, because there were already major microbial imbalances that had happened, basically from birth. And again, how does that happen from birth? Well, there's several reasons it can happen, but one specifically, born in a hospital setting, you are more exposed to skin type bacteria. And when the baby comes out, the baby's immune system is smart. So it's literally trying to take in its environment to get proper bacteria for the gut. It got some from the mom. So that means mom can pass down, bacterial overgrowths to their babies as well. But in a hospital setting, they're more exposed to skin bacteria. And again, that's been shown in research as well. So that's why you can see more overgrowth of strep. You can see more overgrowth of staph in the gut. And that's a big, issue as well too. So we're going to be going live here in just a second as well too. And we're going to start getting into more of solutions that you guys can start doing at home if you have autoimmune conditions as well. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. I've been talking all things autoimmune today. And so really first kind of diving into what are some of the major causes of autoimmune conditions. It's gut issues, again, is the kind of the baseline of autoimmune conditions. And it's also the immune system is now stuck in the memory part of the immune system. You now have mature immune cells that have gotten used to attacking its own tissues. And so we talked about some of the most common reasons why that happens, because early on in childhood, and literally as soon as a baby is born, we start, with childhood, inoculations and immunizations, and just nailing them all the way up to 6 months, even into the 18-month mark, over and over and over again, really bypassing the way the body is supposed to express, symptoms, and seeing the body's immune system go through a proper Th1 response and a proper Th2 response. I'm not even really going to get into the craziness of trying to stimulate a quote-unquote cell-mediated reaction with an immunization, looking at putting aluminum, which, just so you guys know, let me just give you a quick rundown. The FDA says that the upper limit of micrograms of aluminum for a baby is, in a single dose is 25 micrograms. Did you guys know that the top 5 immunizations given to a child under the age of 6 months all have over 200 micrograms of aluminum given at one time? Guys, aluminum, it's not an opinion, it's a fact. Aluminum is a neurotoxin, period. It is an absolute neurotoxin. It's been proven on autopsy studies that aluminum bioaccumulates in the brain. So yeah, you may not see it in the bloodstream on toxicology tests, but you will see it stored in the brain. It is one of the leading causes of Alzheimer's out there, and neurocognitive and degenerative issues are looking at aluminum in the brain, and yet we're putting that into our babies. That is not an opinion. That is an absolute fact, and those are information that you can even find on CDC's website. You can find out how many micrograms of aluminum are we putting into our kids nowadays. So, but let's kind of get past that insanity and go more into what can you start to do for autoimmune conditions. So, number one, start addressing the gut. So I talked about being specific, getting a stool test. If you want to get that done, get on our website, doctorswarren.com, schedule an initial appointment, and let's get that looked at. Let's get a stool test done so that we can dive into the root cause. Let's say that you're like, well, I just want to start doing some things at home. Well, let's start addressing the gut first. So what are some of the things that I find are a great way to begin, right, to address, gut dysfunction? Well, number one, it's got to be the food that we're consuming. So we really want a highly anti-inflammatory diet. Now, what does that mean when I say highly anti-inflammatory? Well, yes, number one, it means cutting out the inflammatory foods that we know. So with autoimmune patients, I always have them cut out gluten, number one. I don't care if you say I eat bread and I don't have any reactions. If you have an autoimmune condition, you need to cut out gluten literally 10 years ago you need to, but today is the next best choice. So we're cutting out gluten, we're cutting out cow's milk dairy, and usually for a little bit, I usually cut out all dairy. I don't think all dairy is bad, but I do cut out most dairy, right at the beginning. I also cut out corn, soy. I cut out the bad oils that are not fit for human consumption, which will create more inflammation than just about anything that you put in your body, even more than sugar. And that's like your rancid vegetable oils, including your organic, non-GMO canola oil that stupid Whole Foods continues to put in their food because they absolutely refuse to look at the literature, and they're just bought and paid for, which makes sense because they're owned by Amazon now. But bottom line is those are rancid. They are not fit for human consumption, and they will create an inflammatory issue when you're looking at those rancid seed oils. So I have them cut those things out, and I have them include a diet that is high in things like wild-caught fish and seafood, high in things like grass-fed, grass-finished, wild game. So I have them consuming really good, high-quality meats, lots of good healthy fat like your organic olive oils, your things like MCT oils, your avocado oils. I have them also begin some of my favorite things to help with the skin and the cell membrane is balancing the omega-6 and omega-3 ratio of the body. If that omega-6 and omega-3 ratio is off, then again, that can create skin issues. That is one of the major causes of skin issues, which, in most autoimmune conditions, you see some issues on the skin. So balance out the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. That also helps to calm down cellular inflammation. Now, some of you may have used fish oil in the past and said, hey, you know what? I saw amazing results with my skin by using fish oil initially. Well, yeah, that's because your diet was way too high in rancid, bad omega-6s. But that being said, at a certain point, it's able to balance out. And then if you go past that, where you have a dominance of omega-3, that is not good, and that is not healthy for the body either. That's why I don't recommend taking fish oil, really at all, but especially long term. I do recommend doing a balanced type of oil that's really, really good for the body. So doing things that contain, maybe it's organic raw, hemp seed oil or flaxseed oil, or a balance of both. Things like black seed oil or black cumin seed oil is fantastic. Borage oil, seeing things like evening primrose oil, cold press raw sunflower oil. So coming from things like Andrea seed oils. Or if you want all those in one, like Pure Form Omega is one that I get people on almost immediately. It is vegan, it's vegetable, it's vegetable, based when we're talking about cold pressed organic, things like coconut oil, hemp seed oil, flaxseed oil, borage seed oil, and evening primrose oil to balance a perfect 2.5 to 3 to 1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. And so again, that's something that we start with. That's the diet that I start with. Lots of nutrient-dense vegetables. Most of the time with autoimmune conditions, we cut out things like, I have them at least for a period of time, cut out things like nightshades just to see if that's creating an issue. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And also too, when it comes to the vegetables that they consume, I most of the time have them cook them or use like Instapot, especially when it comes to the meat and the vegetables. Using like an Instapot or a crock pot is a really great thing for autoimmune patients because you're able to get rid of a lot of plant toxins like lectins and some of those oxalates. You're able to reduce those if they've had pressure and heat. So that's why I like an Instapot with all of my autoimmune condition, clients or patients, so that they can use almost all of their meals, utilizing pressure and utilizing heat to help break down some of those plant toxins. Now, when we are, when we kind of address the diet there, now we can start addressing some of the things that heal the gut. So I like to use, things like L-glutamine. I like to use aloe. I like to use, things like certain other amino acids, like essential amino acids, because I usually find there is a major malnutrition when it comes to amino acids because of the damage to the gut. I like to use things like bone broth or some type of collagen powder or bone broth powder if they're not going to consume it from a whole food base. I like to use things like marshmallow root and really making sure that we're paying attention to the overall health of the gut. Things like turmeric and fulvic acid can be a really great thing for the gut as well. And I like to use things like colostrum. I think is a fantastic one to heal the mucosal membrane of the gut and see major improvements overall in the immune function of the gut. So if you have a low secretory IgA, that's one that you can use as well. Zinc and choline are a big part of gut function as well as liver function. So I like to make sure that they have plenty of that either in their diet or also supplementation, especially right off the bat, to make sure that we're addressing that as well. So I have to go on a break. Again, if you guys want more information about this, go visit our website, doctorswarren.com. You can schedule an appointment there as well. It's an initial call with our clinic director, Mary Beth. She'll be able to get on a call with you, and you can schedule that time. Based on your schedule, it'll give you times. You get to pick that out, a 10 to 15 minute free call with our clinic director so that way she can make sure to find out, what is it that you're looking for? What are your health goals? What is it that you want to address? Are you looking for, structural corrective chiropractic care? Are you looking for functional wellness? Are you looking for both? So she'll be able to place you exactly where you need to go. Again, go to doctorswarren.com. There's a little bar at the top of the page where you can actually go and schedule that initial call, or you can give them a call, 423-362-5360, and get scheduled there as well. This is Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I'll be right back after the break. All right, so let's kind of dive back in there. So I talked about some of the really good supplements and herbs that can be really, really great when we're looking at the gut. Some other ones that can be great too, especially if somebody has a lot of inflammation in the gut. I like to use things that help to calm down inflammation. So you can use things like curcumin. Now, I know a lot of you have heard, that you should use black pepper extract with that. And I understand that black pepper extract can actually make, something like turmeric or curcumin about 30 times more absorbable, according to one or two studies. But here's the problem. If you have a gut issue and you use something like bioperine or black pepper extract, it's been shown to negatively impact the gut lining. So it can actually damage the gut lining. And so it can create some gut permeability. So I do not like to use, curcumin or turmeric supplements with black pepper extract in it. especially if that patient has gut issues. There's much better ways, much better ways to get a highly absorbable curcumin in the body. So I like to use like a liposomal form. So like if you go on our website, if you go on our store at doctorswarren.com, you can find like Desbio, Desbio. They have a fantastic one that also has some resveratrol in it as well that is really great at down regulating like damage, oxidative stress damage, really powerful from an antioxidant standpoint. So I like to utilize those as well to really help reduce inflammation. Sometimes I like to use enzymes. So sometimes I like to use more proteolytic type of enzymes to help break down some inflammation. So I'm a huge fan of Wob enzyme. It's been around really since like the 1950s, and it does a great job of overall reducing inflammation kind of systemically as well as in the gut. It can also help to break down biofilm too if you have some overgrowth of pathogens in the gut as well. So hopefully that gives you some ideas on some of the things. If you're looking to heal and seal, things like colostrum, things like, we like to use mega mucosa is a great one that you can find on our website. We like to use things like, again, L-glutamine. If you're looking for reducing inflammation, utilizing zinc, utilizing choline, utilizing things like curcumin in a liposomal form. Those are great ones that you can use. If you're looking to soothe, and also I will tell you this, I'll give you a bonus. Actually, with Hashimoto's, specifically with thyroid issues, aloe has been shown to make a major difference. So there is an aloe 200 times that's on our website, on our store there that you can go register for by Designs for Health. It's very powerful that I like to use, that I see some really good results with. So again, that is a high potent aloe that does really well, especially for thyroid conditions and looking at the gut health overall too. So that's looking at the gut. Now, that's a major step, and just recognize that's going to take some time, all right? So you're going to have to be with that. I usually tell people when you're looking at, doing gut healing, like just recognize that you're looking at anywhere from like 3 to 6 months of doing, proper gut healing and really being consistent with it. And then post like, killing off whether it's bad bacteria. So sometimes we have to use natural killers as well, things like biocidin, utilizing some other natural killers that are out there that we use from systemic formulas. But natural killers, that have things like, bilberry, that have things like, oregano, olive leaf extract. Those are some examples of some natural killers that we like to use. Sometimes you have to do that first, then you have to heal and seal the gut, and then you can go into actually repopulating and re-inoculating the gut. And so that's where it gets a lot of fun, when you actually get to incorporate, a diversity of good bacteria. That's where it starts to get really fun when it comes to gut issues. And I will go over some of my favorite things to do that in just a second. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I'm your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. We've been talking all things autoimmune today. If you're just now joining us on our radio show or just now joining us on Facebook Live, you really want to go back and watch this show, because again, I've given out a lot of information as far as what you can do, what to address, what are some of the primary causes. And also, if you are on a radio show and not on Facebook, you need to get on Facebook, Doctors Warren, like and follow our page, because I just gave out a ton of information on some of my favorite herbs, some of my favorite supplements that I like to use when it comes to healing and sealing the gut, when it comes to natural killers that sometimes you have to get rid of some pathogens. But now I'm kind of going over another state of dealing with the gut. And people like to use probiotics, and I get it. I understand why. But the problem is that if you don't understand what your specific gut situation looks like, sometimes throwing probiotics in there can make a problem worse and can really be driving the issues. Now, I'll tell you this, if you've been taking the same probiotic for over 3 months or 6 months, again, that can be wrecking damage as well, because you're really getting a monoculture of bacteria rather than a diversity of bacteria. So if I'm going to re-inoculate the gut, some of my favorite things to rotate, I love using Megaspore Biotic. It's in spore form. I know Dr. Mercola has an amazing spore form probiotic that has like 10 different strains in it. I like to rotate, even things like ProFlora 4R is a great one by Biobotanical Research. Those are some of my favorite ones to rotate to get a diversity of bacteria. MBC by Systemic Formulas. And so again, those are something that you can add in later on and really see some major improvement there. I love using Saccharomyces boulardii. That's a great one, a healthy form of yeast that does a great job of calming down things like candida and overgrowth, really from an environment that has been damaged as well too. Now, the second stage of autoimmune conditions and making sure that we're addressing is then you have to prime and you have to re-educate the immune system. Ways that you can re-educate the immune system. You can use things like low-dose naltrexone, which, yes, it's a drug, but in low doses can be very effective for autoimmune conditions. I also like to use certain types of things that train the Th1 and Th2 part of the immune system. We know that things like EGCG, we know that certain types of medicinal mushrooms like shiitake and maitake mushrooms, we know that beta 1, 3, and 1,6 glucan can help to retrain that. So those are all things that we like to use over time. That's over the course of 6 to 9 months, and sometimes even a year, consistently every single day to start retraining the immune system. So hopefully that gives you guys some good information. Go on our website, drswarren.com, DRSWARREN.com, and get set up for a consult with myself or Dr. Rebecca. If you're having, autoimmune conditions, we don't treat autoimmune conditions, but we do help people figure out how to get themselves well by getting down to the root cause. There's a banner at the top of our website, drswarren.com. You can schedule an initial, phone call with our clinic director, and she can place you there, and you can schedule it on your own time. That's fantastic. And that's a free initial, consultation there as well too, looking at, that call with Mary Beth. So get on our website, drswarren.com, get that scheduled. Go on Facebook, like and follow our page there, Drs. Warren as well. This has been Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. Wellness Radio is presented. All right, guys, thanks for joining me on Facebook. Again, make sure if you love the information, as I pointed out earlier, please share this information. When we post an article or a video, not only does that help to get the word out, but it helps people to understand that, hey, maybe there's something else out there that they can do besides, just literally trying to cut themselves to health or trying to medicate themselves to health. Because as you know, as my listeners already know, that is not a great solution to dealing with that. Again, the primary solution is getting down to the root cause. So make sure that you share this information if you love it. And again, make sure that you stay in contact with us, guys. Comment on our Facebook lives, comment on our articles, ask us questions. We love to create community. We love to create discussion. Even if your view is different than ours, that's okay, guys. That is part of life. And so it's fun to have discussions like that as well, too. So we encourage you guys to just, create this community with us. And again, I appreciate you guys listening. Hopefully you got a lot of good information out of this. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, rest of the weekend and a wonderful next week. God bless, and we'll see you guys soon.